Welcome back to the Theme Park Universe podcast special edition. We have our lovely co-host, Dr. Dre, coming in just a second. We have a whole variety of topics, but the main one, big strike that happened at Disneyland, and we have a big historian to tell you all about it. Dr. Dre, welcome to the stage. How are you?
Doing very well. Thank you so much for having me on. This story caught, I think, the theme park community a little bit by surprise. We have been hearing about strikes and potential strikes at Disneyland itself, but it was more connected to the entertainment side of the business. Now, it looks like 14,000 cast members have voted to not necessarily a strike, but for a authorization for a strike vote. It's a little different, and we'll get into
the pre-vote.
Yes. The fact that it gets this far, however, is a big deal, and this is why it is absolutely breaking news and something that is worth talking about. If you want to go ahead and share my screen, Ethan, we can go ahead and get right on to it. This is deadline. 14,000 cast members will vote in the next 10 days on whether to authorize a strike. By Tom Tapp right here. All is not well in the Mouse House, the largest bargaining unit of Disney workers in California, representing everyone from custodians and ride operators to candy makers and merchandise clerks, announced today that a strike authorization vote is scheduled for Disneyland cast members. The results are expected to be announced by July 20th, after votes are tallied and the unions have notified cast members. 14,000 cast members, that represents about half of the entire resort, because I believe it's anywhere between, 28,000 to 32,000 right now, Ethan. It may have gone up to 35, but I think it's around there.
Yeah, it's quite a bit, half of the resorts, especially when you figure out which half, it's mostly attraction people and stuff, that could basically shut down the park for a couple days there.
Oh, it would absolutely shut down the park. That is absolutely for sure. There's no way that operations can continue. But it goes on here. Unions representing 14,000 cast members at Disneyland, Disney California Adventure, Downtown Disney, and Disneyland entered discussions with the company on April 24th, asking for what they say are fair wages, a fair attendance policy, seniority increases, and safe parks for cast members and guests. The enhanced safety features, we know that was something that the entertainment cast members were actually most concerned about. So I suppose there might be some grievances with the cast member line, especially when it relates to Disneyland, which is a very old park. There might be some back of house issues or something to contend with, especially for those cast members specifically. The fair attendance policy is very interesting. Remember, I believe it was 2021, Disney took a look, or Team Disney Anaheim, I should say, took a look and analyzed their attendance policies for the entire Disneyland Resort. And it used to be a lot more forgiving, or what's the word for it? There used to be a lot more wiggle room in order to allow cast members to come in and out of their shifts and attend to their duties. So a lot of them went to school simultaneously. A lot of them took care of families and all kinds of stuff, right? So it allowed for flexibility. That's the word I was looking for. They changed that, and now I think it's like a three strikes policy, because when Disney was in a rush to get as much talent as possible, we know, Ethan, for example, that 50% of all cast members throughout the resort line, and this goes for Walt Disney World as well, weren't actually there in 2020. They're all 50% are brand new. And when they were desperate to get as much talent as they possibly could, well, they enlarged that pool a little bit, lowered their standards a little bit, and people began to abuse the systems, the attendance policy systems that were set up in place to allow for flexibility for cast members at Disneyland Resort specifically. They changed that to a much more rigid system, and I think that's part of this as well.
Yeah, because just like you said, a lot of people can't do their second, maybe a second job, like babysitting or go to school, and doing part-time, or even have like a doctor's appointment or anything. It's very hard to do all that because it's such a strict attendance policy.
Right.
And then they have state strikes, so she can make it very difficult on people.
Exactly. I 100% agree. That can make it very difficult to keep a consistent workload at the Disneyland Resort. If you want to be full-time, I'm sure your hours shift, and I've heard for part-time, it's tough getting hours sometimes. So it's like, it's all over the place. I can understand that. The fair wages, that's going to be particularly troublesome. And I say this because the company is looking to cut as much as possible from the parks, as much as they possibly can. We've seen a slew of entertainment cuts. We've seen cuts to maintenance or third shift. We've seen cuts to the operations and hours for certain attractions, all because of maybe labor-related unions or labor-related reasons, or maintenance cast members. I understand the plight in Southern California, especially right now, because the cost of living has just increased substantially. I mean, the price of a home, I think, is the highest it's ever been, and I think it's gone up 6% from the last year in terms of home valuation and prices. It's insane. I think LA Times actually read an article recently about the entertainment community and how they're really struggling. A lot of them are actually leaving the Southern California area because of just how expensive it is. They have this saying, survive till 25, that they've been saying amongst themselves in the entertainment community because, well, there have been cuts to the entertainment productions and so forth from the major studios like Netflix, for example, or Disney. And so they're hoping that 2025 business will actually pick up. Well, I'm not sure that's necessarily going to be the case. But even if it does, what do you do in the interim? So I think everybody's looking to get their share of the pie. And this is the problem, Ethan. I think Jonas said it on That Park Place. He was like, look, the problem with touting that you have record year-over-year increases in revenue is, well, when you say that over and over again, those people are going to go, well, we want a little bit of that as well. And that's what's actually embedded here.
Also, when you have, when they have $60 billion to spend on the theme parks, like, it's a lot of money. So they're like, hey, why don't we get some of that $60 billion to make these theme parks run?
Exactly. No, that is 100% the case, I believe. Let me just see right here if I can actually find the exact quote that I'm looking for right here, because I think it's very, very interesting. Let me see. I'm looking. Okay, yeah. We won't. So this is the Disney Workers Rising Bargaining Committee. Added the following: we won't accept less than what we deserve because we know our value to Disney. The theme park profits come from our hard work, making a trip to Disneyland a magical experience for guests. By undermining our rights, Disney has only made it harder for our fight to help our guests and our parks safe, which is why we are compelled to take the next vote next week on whether to authorize a strike after our contract expired. With the strike authorization vote, we will ensure Disney hears Disneyland's cast members and their voices. Also says, I think it actually does bring up the $60 billion in here as well. And this is a pivotal time for the resort because obviously Disneyland Forward was just approved. Hugh Johnston has said that the earnings from the parks division is softer than it has been in recent years because, well, I think there's been a slowdown in tourist travel especially, but even regional attendance as well. We're seeing not only the trends that we're seeing in Walt Disney World in terms of the lackluster attendance there, we're seeing some of that at Disneyland itself. So this is a pivotal time for not only the Walt Disney Company, but especially for the Disneyland Resort.
Oh, yeah, because need some investment, need some attendance. Because, people aren't going to be coming. And then, of course, you have to pay the cast members, else they won't be working. So, they can't screw this one up, especially with D23 so close and investments being made, And also, that's a smart, I must say, smart time for them to vote to strike because my bet is they will, if they do want to strike, they'll try to strike right around that D23 time because they know that's hit them right where it hurts.
Yeah, this also coincides with the expiration of some contracts. So it says right here, it looks like they entered into negotiations on April 24th that we were before. Disneyland officials, for their part, said in a statement, quote, that continued conversations have been taking place throughout the last few months. The official Disneyland Park Master Services Council contract expired on June 16th, with the Master Services Council declining to enter into a contract extension. So they're not like, oh yeah, let's go ahead and extend you up until that point. No, we want this to go ahead and solve now, which I believe is the hardball stance that some of the Hollywood strikes or strikers actually use as well. It was like, okay, no, we're not going to enter into negotiations with back end. We want this figured out right now. In May, Disney cast members filed unfair labor practice charges against Disney on behalf of 14,000 workers at the resort for unlawful discipline, intimidation, and surveillance of union members exercising their right to wear union buttons at work. That's an interesting charge there. Charge relates to more than 675 cast members and are currently being investigated by the National Labor Relations Board. Our goal for negotiations has always been to reach an agreement with Disney, one that provides cast members with wages that they need to live in Southern California, the respect that they deserve for the years they dedicated to the company. That's the seniority policy that they were talking about before. We'll talk about that in just a moment. An attendance policy that works for everybody while keeping guests safe. Reads a statement from the Disney Workers Rising Bargaining Committee. The seniority thing, I think, has been kind of a cultural thing company-wide. I know Bob Iger just recently celebrated his 50th anniversary with the company, which is absolutely significant. But from what we are hearing from our sources, at least at the kind of That Park Place Network, was that Bob Iger, maybe even dating back to Michael Eisner, put less of an emphasis on seniority and the importance of it, and actually started to kind of get rid of some of those initiatives. For example, like Disney employees at Burbank were instructed not to wear on their name badges and name tags how many years they've worked with the actual company itself. So,
wow, that's a nice little achievement there, a little milestone, nice little show off. Look, I've been here for 25 years. Yeah, it's nice.
Right, and the growing theory is that seniority necessarily wasn't an asset. For example, like that is to say, it almost seemed like if you were working at the company like longer, it was actually looked down upon. I'm not sure if that was in a rush to get new talent within the company or its ranks or so forth, but we have seen for a lot of years now, Ethan, that the company, executives use the company almost like a stepping stone to get to another job, and they're very short term with the company as opposed to long-term employees. That was very different than in Walt's day or even in the 1970s. In the 1980s, I think this really started to change, where you had a little bit more of that corporate Hollywood mindset come in. And because of that, we've seen a lot of people make a lot of short-term decisions that make their quarters and portfolios look good, but don't necessarily, they don't encompass the long-term health of the company. So that seniority thing at Disneyland, I don't doubt some of that is taking place. The surveillance of union members, wearing buttons and so forth. I know the backstage policies are a little bit looser, but I remember back in the day, Ethan, I remember when you couldn't have a cell phone on your person at all while on stage. Now that's changed, but I remember Disney being that rigid.
Yes. When I worked there, yes, we had to put ourselves in some lockers. I remember that.
Right.
Back in 2017, yes.
Yeah, and like smartwatches and stuff, there was no way back in the day. But now I know that a lot of that's changed. This is a tough situation because, like you said, D23 Expo is literally around the corner. Disney has to get this resolved with the understanding that
people are 1 month from today.
Indeed. The international visitors from all over the world are coming to Anaheim specifically for the D23 Expo. Disneyland would love to play host to much of that, let's say, potential capital. So they need this to be operating. They need this to be operating soundly. And by the way, this might not include the entertainment cast members. So it says right here, the group does not include the cast members who perform characters or dance in the parades and hotels, leads, trainers who work alongside them. Those workers voted to unionize with the Actors Equity Association in May. But whatever decision that these cast members come to, well, it will affect that new union that is being set up. And we know the company's response to that We know that shows have been canceled or shows have not actually gone on at all, like in the case of Steve Rogers or any Hyperion musical whatsoever. We know that parades are ending before they should be. So this is a tough spot that the company is in. This really is. They got to get this settled. And do you remember, Ethan, the last time that a lot of these cast members actually voted to potentially strike if they didn't actually get their way? I remember when that vote took place. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the union leaders, I believe, I want to say it was 2022. This vote actually took place, and the union leaders sent that contract over to review for the cast members. They were going to vote on it, and it was all contingent on that vote. And some hanky stuff happened in that vote, because it looked like, at least from initial reports and initial tallies, that the cast members were not actually going to approve of the negotiations and the terms of the deal that those union heads and Disney had settled on. But they got just enough votes at just the right time, and it went through. I'm not saying that the mouse, there's not some shenanigans at play, but it was weird. They got to get this resolved any way they can, by hook or by crook. We'll see. I mean, if Disney does, provide them everything that they're asking for, there's going to be consequences. There's no free lunches here.
Yeah, hope. It is a tough spot because I want everyone to be able to live, but then hopefully it doesn't. Hopefully they don't pull some projects under the rug or something from underneath us. Some investment of that $60 billion or $2 billion, whatever it is, to go somewhere else, because that would be unfortunate as well for a multi-billion-dollar company over here.
And
why don't you take the budget of the Acolyte, slash in half, and use that to pay the workers? Like, come on.
Yes. Please. Look, and Ethan's right about this too. Acolyte is a $180 million show. Okay, that's the reported budget on it.
Like, insane. The boys, I'm sure, is much cheaper, and that looks way better. So
yeah, and I will say, have you ever seen Shogun, Ethan?
Clips, but I heard that's a phenomenal show.
Huge cast. The costumes look amazing. Cinematography is gorgeous. The writing is excellent. All these things. And that show was filmed, I believe, for 10 episodes. I believe every single episode being roughly 45 minutes each. That was $250 million. So the idea that you're getting 8 episodes with the Acolyte, and each one of them are about 30 minutes apiece, well, that equates to, $20 million per episode, $750,000 per minute that you are watching the Acolyte. That's how much the ticker tape is spinning.
Wonder how much that pop song cost and the credits there.
Yeah, the pop song. Oh, Ethan, Theme Park Universe is a venue. I could go on about the Acolyte all day long, but I think your larger point, though, of hey, can we not set aside tens of billions of dollars for the entertainment side of the business when the parks are the thing that's driving the overall revenue for the entire company?
Parks, the cast members running the parks, it's all one machine there.
Yes.
Whereas what the Acolyte has a cast of 20 people or less.
Yeah, and no big name stars either. So where did that money go? It's not like they had, look, for example, Secret Invasion, right? You had Samuel L. Jackson there, you had Don Cheadle.
Big guy.
Right. So when you see the budget for that show, it's like, well, okay, I can kind of see how this may get out of hand, right? But the Acolyte, who's in that show? Carrie Ann Moss? Okay, she's no Samuel L. Jackson. As much
and
as
she's only in even in 2 episodes only. So
yes, a good point. It's a good point. It is wild. It is very strange. But Walt Disney World accounts for a third of the revenue for the entire company. That's how significant that is. And Disneyland could join them in that effort. Now, obviously, they'll be limited in how much revenue potential that they have with the amount of hotels that they have. That's for sure. But Disneyland does contribute a significant portion to that as well. And we want to see these parks do well. We want new offerings. We want new things that we can get excited about and that we can be talking about on this program that you're seeing right here. But the only way that happens is if the Disney company is smart with their money. And unfortunately, they just simply haven't been. And people, I think, are suffering for it. Like you said, Ethan, if they could cut that budget for the Acolyte, well, maybe we could get some cast members at Disneyland Resort a proper pay increase. But c'est la vie. That's what's happening right there. Should we? Which direction should we go? Fantasmic or Country Bears?
Fantastic, because this time I wanted to do in the last episode, but we ran out of time.
Oh, okay, perfect. Awesome. Let me go ahead and switch gears here. This comes from Walt Disney World News Today, or Disneyland News Today. It's a subsidiary of WDW. And Mickey fires finger pyro at himself in latest Fantasmic malfunction right there. That's how the effect is supposed to look like, ladies and gentlemen. A TikTok video documenting a dangerous firework malfunction during last night's performance of Fantasmic at Disneyland Park. The video was posted by TikTok user Bibbidi Bobbidi Allison, I believe. Okay, sorry. I very much apologize.
You can't see that either.
Bibbidi Bobbidi Bay Allison. Okay. Shows fireworks shooting out of Mickey's hands long before they're supposed to. Mickey was just starting to make his way to the stairs when the fireworks started shooting out of his hands, surrounding his body in sparks. The performer then ran to the top of the stairs and extended their arms as quickly as possible to keep the sparks away from them. You can see that right here. I've actually downloaded the video for all of us. I'm not going to play it with audio, but you can see him, the performer that is, walking up, and sparks are shooting out everywhere wildly. I have seen. Sorry, Ethan. I do apologize. Were you going to say something?
Oh, I said, dangerous. Good thing he's okay.
I think he's okay. I would hope that there's some, especially after the Murphy incident, I would hope there's some fire retardant clothing underneath or something in order to protect Mickey right there. And it didn't look like there were any black spots on his pants or anything. So I think he's okay. But man, oh man, I've seen this happen before with this spark effect that's embedded into the hands of Mickey there. I've seen it happen before. But not for a while. And in light of, the Murphy incident that took out our dragon and some of the malfunctions and so forth that we've seen over the years, I am surprised to have seen this again. What is interesting too, Ethan, is that for a little while there, the Fantasmic wasn't actually performing in B mode. Obviously without Murphy, without the dragon, it was actually in C
mode. That's right, yeah, which is even crazier.
Right, so Fantasmic at Disneyland on June 24th was in C mode. Maleficent did not go up on the pole. She just ran back and forth on the stage. And now we know there's a C mode. Yes, that's correct. And I believe it was like this for the next, 2 or 3 days. And if you want to see what that's like, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to see right here. This is from Disney Scoop Guy on Twitter. So this is absolutely credit to him. But you can see how the effect should, this is the C mode, right? No, this is the, this is the B mode. So you can see how the effect should look. See her rising up on the platform. She stays up there, and then Mickey, he uses his imagination to thwart the forces of evil, and she goes down. That's B mode. C mode is this, again, from Disney Scoop Guy on Twitter. You can see right here, she's just kind of running around on stage, like the tweet mentioned before, and she never actually goes up on that platform. So it's
And then we have
It's-
D mode where she just doesn't come out at all.
I've not seen the D mode yet, Ethan, but I'm sure if there is a D mode, that is exactly it right there. Very, very sad to see. At least she got off our platform that wasn't rising. And good on the performer for actually doing that. It's sad to see this take place with this such an amazing show. Again, this is supposed to be the finale, and they use the dragon in all of their marketing and advertising for this show. The dragon is the big special effects for the show, and to not even get a platform that raises her, that's got to be sad. As they're charging for their meal packages for the show as well. It's just sad to see the show in the state like this.
Yeah, very unfortunate. Can't wait till next year. Hopefully, we'll get that whole dragon back. But at least make it work now. Like, that's so sad. Like, this is supposed to be their summer offering. Like, who wants to see this?
I know. Especially when you look at like Universal Orlando, for example, and what they're bringing to the table this summer.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is kind of embarrassing to see Disney shows in this state, because you just see that mega movie parade or you see that sensational show and you just go, oh my goodness, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. And then you see the shows that Disney has been performing, in this case, Fantasmic, since what, 1992? So we're talking beyond 30 years, and it's in a state like this. It really is sad to see. And like you said, summer offering.
At this point, Waterworld better than this. I mean, that show works all the time, just about all the time. Sometimes the plane doesn't come out, but it comes out most of the time. But the rest of the show works. Like, it's been going for 25 some years.
Right? Yeah. Waterworld is the consistency of those effects in that show. There are some times when the plane doesn't actually, fly out because of wind conditions and so forth. But the last, what, I want to say dozen times I've seen the show, unbelievably consistent in terms of its production value and its special effects and so forth. But with this, they just can't, I don't know, they're just not able to dial it in as much as I would think that they would, especially given the financial incentives to do so. Waterworld doesn't have any packages.
Like, again, exactly. Waterworld's the show. And here, Disney's only new offering this summer. And, during Pixar Fest, which I hear no one talk about. And then, then like I said, you have the dining packages, and you have the reserve viewing. And then, especially it's important because, that park, as of now, all that whole side of the park is closed. So there's if people don't want to see this, there's really no incentive to go over there because there's bars all over the place.
That's a great point. I mean, the entire side, the entire west side has been completely blanketed with construction walls, or just not allowing you to go over to like the Splash Mountain or Critter Country area, for example. This is a big incentive to get onto the side of the park, especially at night when they want to balance those crowds out amongst park guests from like the hub, for example, for the nightly fireworks performances and so forth. It behooves Disney from an operational standpoint, if nothing else, and especially revenue standpoint, to get people over here. To not see it in its best condition is very, very sad, especially after it had been under such hiatus for so long. But Savvy,
what, like a year?
Yeah, so it went down, I believe, in May of 2023 and didn't show back up. Yeah, I want to say May of 2024. I want to say is the relaunch date for the show, and they did bring back the Peter Pan segment, replacing the Pirates of the Caribbean segment. I thought that was good. No TikTok or the crocodile. That was following the Columbia for all those years as part of when Peter Pan was originally part of this presentation. That was sad to see, and no dragon. Now I could kind
So
of understand the dragon.
basically a one step or two steps back situation.
Yes, two steps back for sure. Now, other parts of the show look pretty good, like the water fountains. I know they did a lot of work on that, and there were some improvements made. I'm not going to say that it's in terrible shape.
Yeah,
However,
definitely some technology improvements, but yeah,
oh yes, oh yeah.
some things definitely just misfired. Some other guy.
But they promised Ethan extra magic to be part of the show, right? You remember that Scott Custon report that.
They not only that, they promised new magic. They said new special effects stuff, so like this grand finale. It's funny.
Right.
It's just another thing of over promising, like the blue sky stuff, D23. They really like doing that. Just that we won't have the dragon, but don't worry, we have this grand finale, it's new magic until the dragon returns or whatever later, right? And it was the same thing. Like we were like, because I was curious. He was like, "Oh, what do they got?" Because Disney, so much new technology is available nowadays.
Right?
Looking at sensational show like what they have. They got some drones. I don't know what drones. What the fireworks, got new action sequences. What they got for us, and it was the same thing. So like even if the same thing was good, when you start to overpromise and like, oh my gosh, and people our hype level goes up. And yet another example of Disney overhyping something and at least continued distrust between guests and Disney.
It's crazy. I don't understand why we didn't invest even more into this show, especially knowing that it was going to be without its dragon for an undisclosed amount of time. It's like, okay, well, let's go ahead and let's really spend the money, at least in terms of making the show that's absolute very best, getting rid of a lot of the technical malfunctions that could possibly take place, like with that pyro incident we were just talking about at the start of this segment right here. Could we have had a B mode that was truly a B mode for this finale segment that wasn't just her being lifted up, as has been the case in the past when the dragon did not function correctly? I mean, it's just so bizarre, Ethan. Why they didn't actually take those steps, especially because, well, we're outside of Fantasmic, we weren't getting anything new. We weren't getting a nighttime parade. What is it? Electrical Parade or Paint the Night didn't return for this summer here. World of Color. World of Color 1 has been, I think, seen by many as an inferior show to the original. Again, they had all the incentive in the world to invest more into the show and making it look really extra special for its return debut. And that didn't happen. I don't know.
And don't forget, they also took away good things like Wondrous Journey.
Right.
They just keep that around. And clearly, I don't see anyone talking about the Pixar Together Forever fireworks show as they did with Wondrous Journey. So, I'm sure people wouldn't mind if you swapped it out, for the summer. But nope.
That's a fair point. I didn't even think about that. You're exactly right. They actually got rid of entertainment that people wanted. It's such a disaster. But you know what? Speaking of shows that have gone through a hiatus, improvements, reimaginings, I think that takes us all over to the East Coast, where now we just got our first looks at the Country Bear Jamboree. So this is some of the concept art and costumes and so forth that we were able to get a look at before vloggers were able to take their cameras inside and show us the show in its entirety. And trust me, I have thoughts on all of this. But you can see right here they made some changes. So obviously the costume, the story, you can see right there Henry plays a bit of a different role than he had been in the past. Blue curtains instead of red curtains in order to really make that contrast stand out. And even his jacket there, that wasn't in the original concept art for this show. They actually changed the color on that in order to make him stand out even more. So I think I was initially thinking, hey, this might actually be a really, really good presentation. More on that in a moment. The exterior got a refresh as well. New signage. So now it's the Country Bear Musical Jamboree instead of just the Country Bear Jamboree. Musical and Jamboree. I don't know. Is it redundant? Probably. You probably just need one of those. But okay, fair enough. New signage, but the old sign, which everybody loved with those hand carved figures on there. That's really cool to see. I think one of the things that surprised a lot of people, I don't know if you can see in these shots, and I should have brought it up beforehand, but okay, right here. Oh, actually, they do have the clock. Okay, good. That's awesome. A lot of people were saying that why they get the clock? No, they didn't get rid of the clock. It's right there. Good. Okay, so now we have our looks at the bears themselves, a before and after, which we'll get to in just a moment. But let's go ahead and look at the show. So that was that beautiful exterior that we've seen. This video comes from Attractions Magazine. I won't play it because I do want you to actually see it. I'll skip through it in order to highlight some of these things. In the pre-show area, they now have new displays telling you about the bears, their history, a lot of in-jokes and references. So, like, for example, I think this video actually shows it. Let me see if I can actually find it. You can see in this display case that is new to this attraction, there's a Barry Poppins version of the Mary Poppins theatrical poster for that movie, but it's done in the Country Bears fashion. And so there's a lot of in-jokes, there's a lot of references, there's a lot of kind of meta stuff going on right here. I think it is fun. I think that is cool. That's really cool to see. The display cases, I think, were actually nicely done. The one thing I don't like about this whole thing is that you can see there's two benches in this whole place. This used to be surrounded. The walls of this were lined with benches previously.
And they took a lot of them out, huh?
Mm-hmm. So we've had a significant decrease. A lot of those custom kind of portraits or paintings are still there, which is really cool to see. They actually took this window here. I was looking at the previous footage of this interior because I didn't quite memorize it completely. Obviously, I saw it last year, but I just didn't have it locked down in memory. This was a window before that they have now turned into a light box in order to show some more of this Country Bear regalia or paraphernalia from for in the lead up to this show. I thought this was really well done, really quite cool.
Oh wow! Is that a ukulele? Oh no, it's violin.
Violin, yeah, and it actually has this kind of smoke. this you can see the middle of it's burnt. We'll get to that in just a moment, folks, because I think there's a nice joke there as well. Come Again. That's the, I believe, the song that they sing at the very end of the show that is original to this. And so this kind of takes us into the actual show itself. So the big difference with this show, as opposed to what is it, the previous incarnation of the show. The previous incarnation was a mixture of, I believe, original songs and very old school country songs and bluegrass songs and music of that ilk that the Bears would perform, and it kept it unique, right? This show, it's now an assortment of Disney songs sung by the Bears. That's the big distinguishing factor with this Country Bears show right here. You can see Max, Buff, and Melvin are still on the wall. They give this safety spiel that I believe I don't think they actually gave before. I think they just kind of sat there. Yeah. So they actually give the safety spiel in the front of the show, saying, "Hey,
that's cool.
Remain seated. No flash pictures and so forth." That's pretty cool to integrate them in that way. I like that touch right there. But you can see Henry's still connecting the show. And he looks pretty good. Now, the audio animatronics themselves, I will say this. They are very, very fluid.
Yeah, they look great.
Most fluid I've seen in a long, long time. And the reason why that is, Ethan, is because they actually used the animatronics from Splash Mountain that was next door to the Country Bear Jamboree and utilized the parts from them in order to infuse these audio animatronics with a new release on live. So these are the original audio animatronics from before, but they have had their parts upgraded via those Splash Mountain audio animatronics that were next
Nice.
door.
So they got some plastic surgery, huh? And they got better than ever.
they did the Beverly Hillbillies type rejuvenation process. And you can see the bears right there. They actually look really, really good. They're moving very, very well. They're very, very smooth. I like it. The bears start off with 5 Bear Rugs. This is the Country Bear Musical Jamboree, the new original song for this whole presentation, and perform pretty well. I dig it. I think it's okay. I think it's a great way to kick off the show. And then right after that, we get into the Sunbonnets and Trixie to sing the Zootopia song, Try Everything. So that's kind of what's happening right now. You have the slideshow back there. That was part of the Sunbonnets act before. So the turn me on, turn me down. Oh, go ahead.
What are they? What's on the slideshow?
So the slides show, it looks like just like I think Trixie getting into all kinds of shenanigans. Yeah, hijinks,
Yeah, okay.
right? I think it's to show that Trixie has she gives it her all, and she does try everything. And even though she might fail at a lot of these things in comedic fashion, I think that's what the slideshow is showing. She still kind of she keeps her head down. She still keeps moving forward. So, pretty fun, pretty good. The performer who actually performs this song is very talented. I think this is the strongest of the set, actually, in terms of performance and just musical ability and talent. They actually went to Nashville, got a lot of Nashville country artists and singers to perform these roles in this show, and you can kind of hear the musical quality. Like, it is very, very good. And I'll talk about that.
They went on a research trip, Dr. Dre.
A research trip, yeah. This research trip, however, was far more fruitful, and you can actually you hear and see where where a research trip benefited them. I'll put it that way. Okay, it's not like the Unspotted Adventure where it's like, wow, it's like this is, I think, is a quite different situation. So all of these things I give them credit for. That is absolutely for sure. The thing that I think is missing here, mainly from this presentation, and we'll kind of go through it as we go along, it's a little bit too polished of a production. You remember that the previous Country Bear Jamboree was like, Henry was trying to keep the whole band together. Like, he was trying to keep the whole thing going. There was hijinks everywhere. Everybody kind of like they either took over the show, like Big Al, or they interrupted each other. It kind of felt like a musical act that was performing together for the first time, and it was comedic in that fashion, right? This, every single song, every single performance is performed perfectly, and I don't know if that necessarily embodies the spirit of the old Country Bear Jamboree. Also, the humor, it's a little. I mean, I think there's a joke between the Max Buff and Melvin on the wall there, and it goes something like, "Oh well, hey, that's a great song," or whatever. I really got my fill, and I think Buff says, "Yeah, but I can't really do that because I'm stuffed," kind of thing. It's like, okay, but that's like the extent of the humor there. I just don't think it just doesn't have that edge, right? It doesn't have that kind of quality that the Country Bears did, where you're laughing at the jokes even 50 years later, which is pretty remarkable. You can see right here, this is previously this bear went by a different name. Now Romeo McGraw, and performing "Kiss the Girl." This one is very oddly placed, and I don't think it necessarily works with the flow of the show. Like, it's just like it's kind of inserted in there. I don't think it's and that kind of goes for the entire show. because there are some songs that are just, they don't feel organic to the actual set. They just feel like they're checking boxes on most popular Disney songs, and that's pretty sad to see. This bear right here, Ernest, plays supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. And it's funny because a couple things about this. So he plays it on the fiddle, which is great to see, and really, really fast. And you can see a smoke effect actually from his playing.
Smoking. Is that the burned violins thing that we saw earlier?
Right. Yeah. That was the Burns violins thing that we saw earlier. So that's a cool little detail. That's a cool little touch. And also, too, a really cool touch about this as well. Henry introduces Ernest as being part of the Mineral Kings. Now, that's a significant reference because the Country Bear Jamboree originally was going to be a entertainment show for the Mineral King Resort that Walt Disney was going to build in the 1960s.
Oh,
unfortunately,
yes, Easter egg.
Absolutely, the Mineral King Resort was very high on his list. He was very excited about the project. He talked about how they're working on Walt Disney World as well. They were trying to get favorable deals from the Mineral King area and from the Florida area that they were going to build Project X or Walt Disney World on. Obviously, they went in the Project X or Walt Disney World direction because the Mineral King project was kind of upended by the very, very start of the environmentalist movement. So it didn't quite work out. But that's what this show was to be for originally. Mark Davis was doing sketches for specifically Mineral King, and then those ideas were adapted for Walt Disney World, and that's how we got the Country Bears. So when Henry introduces him as part of the Mineral Kings, I thought that was a pretty cool reference. I was like, you know what? You know your history. Good job. And then right here, you get Wendell and Teddy Barra singing A Whole New World, which is pretty, I guess, apropos, right? She is up there swinging back and forth. It's like, okay, that kind of reminds me of the Aladdin sequence as part of the Aladdin at the Hyperion. Do you remember that, Ethan?
Oh, yeah.
Thought that was a pretty cool reference right there. Very, very, very good. And then you have Shaker performing Fixer Upper. You can see him right there. He kind of strums it, and then I believe Max Buff and Melvin actually provide the lyrics, so they actually get on the act, which is pretty fun as well. Let's see here. We have this one right here. So Big Al. So Big Al famously played.
Big Al, that's my boy.
That's it, right? He famously played Blood on the Saddle. All right. And a beloved bear, you can actually see they have a reference to Big Al. You see the little bear and what he's holding? It's a little Big Al doll. That's pretty cool.
Funny.
Much beloved from the show. And you remember Blood on the Saddle, where it's like, bow, 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 Blood on the Saddle, bow, bow, that whole thing. They have him in that same style play Remember Me from Coco. It's an odd choice.
That's a different tone of
exactly
song.
Right. That Remember Me is legitimately one of the best songs that Pixar has ever included in any of their films. Okay. And it's right up there with some of those classic Disney songs that you and I are very much aware of. To use it as kind of a joke in this way, I think was a misread by those involved with this show. I'm not really a big fan of that, and it's sad to see.
That's an iconic song right there. It's a good song, remember?
Right? Just didn't work out. I know what they were going for, and it's I get mixed feelings on it. I really do. Watch this video, guys, and you tell me if I'm wrong. That is for sure. So then we have Sammy the Raccoon makes a reappearance right here with Henry. They go with the You Got a Friend in Me, which I thought was pretty apropos for these two. You'll remember that Sammy caused hijinks in the past, and now they're kind of friends on here. But that was like, okay, not bad. That's pretty good. Everybody gets involved to play Bare Necessities, which I think is very fitting for this show. I think it's the one that works the best. Outside of
bears.
Right. They're bears, right? Bare Necessity, you gotta do that. That makes total sense. And outside of Try Everything, which is performed very, very well, I think this one fits the show the best for sure. And then you have Come Again, Come On In from the Country Bears performed all at once, and the show ends. Overall, costumes look very good. Fluid audio animatronics. Every song is sung perfectly, and maybe to the show's detriment, which is unfortunate. I've heard people describe this show as Country Bears Philharmagic Edition, and it kind of feels that way.
I've seen that.
Right?
That comparison, yeah.
It just feels like another Disney mashup show, whereas the Country Bears used to be a little bit more special in that regard, right? Like think about it. Let's say that Tiki Room performed Disney songs, and Philharmagic performed Disney songs, and then Country Bears performed Disney songs.
Then they all be the same.
Right, it's all the same. You're hearing the same songs over and over.
Oh, yeah. Well, see, that's the thing too. I feel like not if they're all doing Disney songs, but they all choose this. Like Disney always puts the same ones. Like You Got a Friend in Me, and I'm surprised Let It Go's not in there somewhere. Because Let It Go's usually and then. And there's so many great Disney songs that you don't have to use the same ones over again. Between each show.
And we do get a couple like Fixer Upper. It's like, okay, if you're gonna do Frozen, okay, I guess, all right, do that one that we haven't heard a billion times. But we've heard You Got a Friend Like Me, just endlessly. Same goes for what is it? A Whole New World, Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. That's kind of cool to hear on the fiddle, but overall, it just loses a little bit of that edge, that spice, if you will, that the Country Bears have.
Special spice, indeed. Just loses a little bit for me, Ethan. I don't know. Some of this stuff is good, genuinely good stuff. Others, I don't know. It's just not as good as it could be, I suppose. And you can kind of see a back and forth, a before and after. Blog Mickey has provided that, and it's really interesting to see what costume changes that they actually undertook with this. I think the sunbonnets, they got robbed a little bit because they're not wearing bonnets anymore. That's what they are. Okay. Trixie got far more clothes. Probably for the best. You gotta cover up like Jessica Rabbit.
Yes. Oh, that's so true. I actually like the getup that Ernest is in. If you're gonna do a Mary Poppins song,
and it looks actually just overall, even this fur looks better over here. It looks like more clean and less like scruffy. Over there, it looks like it's like some rag doll that's been played with a whole bunch, but here it looks like clean and I can in the left picture I can barely even see his mouth, but here I can clearly see it. It looks much better. Yeah, right.
I think it looks a lot better. Like you said, Ethan, the fur really does look so much better than what it has looked like before. I didn't know that there were other. The curtain color was different as well.
It looks like that's interesting. I do like the bright curtain better too.
Yeah. The color combo, the color language here is really on point. I mean, it really is. Like it really is stellar. But just some things, it just couldn't. It's just not as good as it could be. Like you said, the fur looks absolutely phenomenal. Romeo got a huge upgrade right there, that's for sure. Gomer looks good. Of course, he's been turned into a black bear, it looks like. That's interesting. Big Al looks great. Everything looks good. Like looks wise, great. Animatronics wise, great. Not as good as it could be. That just about does it for this special presentation of Theme Park Universe. Ethan, was there anything you want to add to any of this?
I don't think so. We got the big things. They got the strike, and got the country bears. So, and yes, thank you guys for joining us on our special presentation of the Theme Park Unibird podcast, a brand new background. Be sure to go. Oh, yes. And where's the wizardess? She's back here somewhere, too. I'm trying to flag her down, but she's not coming over. Well, make sure to subscribe to Theme Park Wizard, Theme Park Wizard, and That Park Place, and all of T3PO. That is Vashguy's channel. So make sure to subscribe to that because he goes live every Tuesday at 11:30 a.m. PTSD or PS Pacific Standard Time.
11:30 Eastern, 2:30 Pacific.
Wait, what?
Yeah,
That doesn't make sense. 11:30
No.
Eastern, 2:30 Pacific.
Oh yeah. I guess that doesn't make sense. Okay, yeah. So 11:30 Pacific, 2:30 Eastern. Sorry about that. Yeah, it didn't make sense. Wrong side of the globe, I guess. Also, too, I'm also on That Park Place every single Thursday at noon Eastern, right there. So you can find me as well. And I'm all over the place. Find me on Twitter. Twitter's right there. And if I'm not doing stuff for That Park Place Network, well, I'm hanging out with my buddy Ethan right over there.
That's right. So make sure to stay tuned, subscribe, and have a spacey day.